Hello. To read all the stories in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Short story 165. The Wrong Train. The rain hammered against the train window, blurring the London skyline into a mess of grey streaks. Sarah clutched her phone tighter, frustration burning in her stomach. The late train was a nightmare, especially since she was meeting her friend Liam for a surprise birthday dinner. Ugh, she muttered, scrolling through endless news articles. Suddenly the train lurched to a halt, throwing her forward. Passengers stumbled and grumbled, the usual annoyance of a sudden stop. The announcement crackled to life. A woman's voice, heavily accented, spoke in a monotone. Due to unforeseen circumstances, this train will terminate at Westbridge. We apologise for the inconvenience. Westbridge, Sarah frowned. That wasn't on her line. Panic started to bubble in her chest. How could they just change the route like that? Excuse me, she tapped the shoulder of the woman next to her, a young woman with bright pink hair. What's going on? Why are we stopping here? The woman shrugged, her eyes wide. No idea. This isn't my usual stop either. The whispers started then, a nervous energy spreading through the carriage. Sarah checked her phone. No signal. Great. The train doors hissed open, revealing a deserted platform bathed in the dim glow of a single flickering light. A lone figure in a long coat stood at the end, their back to the train. This is Westbridge, the voice on the announcement repeated. Please disembark carefully. A few brave souls got up, hesitantly making their way towards the doors. Sarah, however, remained glued to her seat. This wasn't right. Suddenly the train lurched forward again, the doors slamming shut. Panic erupted. People screamed, banging on the windows. What's happening? The pink-haired woman shrieked, her voice crackling. Sarah felt a cold sweat forming on her forehead. Her phone vibrated. A text from Liam. Stuck at the restaurant. Where are you? There was no reply. Her phone cut out again. Trapped. She was trapped on a runaway train in the middle of nowhere. The train rattled through the darkness, the only light the faint glow of the emergency exits. As it slowed, Sarah saw a small abandoned station looming ahead. With a final screech, the train came to a complete stop. Silence. Then a voice boomed over the speakers, a deep, menacing voice. Welcome to Westbridge, your destination. The silence returned, heavier now, more threatening. Sarah exchanged a terrified glance with the pink-haired woman, who was clutching a small handbag tightly. Taking a deep breath, Sarah stood up. She had to get off this train, had to find a way out. Hesitantly, she stepped off the platform, followed by the pink-haired woman and a handful of others. The station was dusty and deserted. Cobwebs hung from the peeling paint, and a single flickering light cast long, eerie shadows. A handwritten sign on the wall read simply, Westbridge. This is a nightmare, the pink-haired woman whispered, her voice trembling. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the darkness. A tall man in a long coat, his face obscured by a wide-brimmed hat. He stopped a few feet away from the passengers, his presence strangely silent. Welcome, he rasped, his voice gravelly. I apologize for the inconvenience. This way, please. He gestured towards a narrow doorway at the back of the station, leading into the inky blackness. The few passengers shuffled nervously, unsure what to do. Sarah felt a hand on her arm. It was the pink-haired woman. We can't go in there, she whispered urgently. It's not safe. Sarah knew she was right, but what other choice did they have? One by one the other passengers followed the man, their silhouettes swallowed by the darkness. Sarah and the pink-haired woman were left alone on the platform, the flickering light casting grotesque shadows on their faces. We should get out of here, the pink-haired woman said, her voice firm despite the tremor in her hands. Sarah nodded in agreement. But which way out? The train was gone, vanished into the night. Suddenly a loud screech echoed through the station. A metal gate clanged shut behind them, blocking the exit. They were trapped. Sarah gasped, fear constricting her throat. The pink-haired woman let out a choked sob. "Don't worry," Sarah forced out, trying to sound brave. "We'll find a way out of here. Together." The man in the long coat emerged from the darkness once again. He stood before them, his face still hidden, but a cruel smile played on his lips, visible even in the dim light. His voice, though low, filled the station with an unsettling calmness. "There's no need to leave," he said. "Westbridge offers a unique opportunity, a chance to rewrite your destiny." Intrigue flickered in Sarah's eyes, battling with the fear still clinging to her. "Rewrite our destiny? What exactly do you mean?" The man chuckled, a dry, humourless sound. "Perhaps you've made mistakes, choices you regret. Perhaps you yearn for a different path. Here in Westbridge we can offer that, a new identity, a chance to start again." The pink-haired woman, whose name Sarah had learned was Chloe, scoffed. "Don't listen to him. We don't need a new identity. We need to get out of here." The man's smile widened. "Leaving isn't so simple, Chloe. This station, like fate itself, has a way of finding those who need a new beginning." He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a worn leather book. Its pages seemed to shimmer faintly in the flickering light. "This book," he continued, "holds the stories of those who have come before you, each a testament to the power of Westbridge." Sarah felt a shiver crawl down her spine. This was no ordinary train station. This was something more. "What kind of stories?" she asked cautiously. The man flipped a page, revealing faded writing and a mugshot of a man with haunted eyes. "This," he said, "is the story of John, a man burdened by a past he couldn't escape. Here in Westbridge he became a respected doctor, his past erased." Another page turned. Another face emerged. "And this," he said, pointing to a woman with a determined gaze, "is the story of Mary, a woman who dared to dream of a life beyond her limitations. Now she leads a successful business, a far cry from her humble beginnings." Chloe remained unconvinced. "These are just stories," she scoffed. "What happens if we don't want a new life? What if we just want to go home?" The man's smile faltered for a moment, a flicker of something akin to annoyance crossing his face. "There is always a choice, of course, but remember, leaving Westbridge is difficult." He gestured towards a broken window at the far end of the station. Outside, the wind howled, carrying the faint outline of a vast overgrown forest. Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that danger lurked beyond those trees. "The forest is treacherous," the man said, his voice low. "For those who choose to leave, the way back is never guaranteed." He closed the book with a snap. Sarah and Chloe exchanged a worried glance. They were trapped, forced to consider a life-altering proposition from a man with secrets. "Let me think about it," Sarah finally said, her voice betraying a hint of desperation. The man nodded. "Of course. Take your time. But remember, the longer you stay, the deeper Westbridge weaves its spell." He bowed slightly and turned to leave, his long coat flapping behind him as he disappeared back into the darkness. Sarah and Chloe were left alone once more, the silence thick with tension. The flickering light cast grotesque shadows that seemed to mock their predicament. A new life or a perilous escape. The choice before them was terrifying and unclear. With nowhere else to go, Sarah pulled out her phone, a silent prayer escaping her lips as she desperately refreshed the screen, hoping for a single bar of signal, a lifeline back to their familiar world. Vocabulary notes. General. Unforeseen, not planned for or expected. The train announcement mentions unforeseen circumstances for the change in route. Accented, having a way of speaking that shows a person comes from a different place. The train announcement has a woman with a heavily accented voice. Deserted, empty of people. The station at Westbridge is deserted and dusty. Eerie, strange and unsettling. The flickering light and deserted station create an eerie atmosphere. Menacing, threatening or dangerous. The deep voice on the loudspeaker sounds menacing. Gravelly, rough and unpleasant sounding. The man in the long coat has a gravelly voice. Intrigue, a feeling of curiosity or interest, often because something is mysterious. Sarah feels intrigued by the man's offer of a new life. Treacherous, dangerous and difficult to travel through. The man warns them that the forest outside the station is treacherous. Desperation, a feeling of hopelessness and needing help urgently. Sarah feels despair when she realizes she has no signal on her phone. Choices and consequences. Regret, a feeling of sadness about something you did or didn't do in the past. The man implies that Westbridge can offer a chance to escape past regrets. Destiny, the path your life is supposed to take. The man talks about Westbridge offering the chance to rewrite one's destiny. Intriguing, arousing curiosity or interest. Sarah finds the man's offer of a new life intriguing. Perilous, dangerous and risky. Escaping the station through the forest might be a perilous choice. Objects and actions. Cobwebs, fine sticky threads spun by spiders. The deserted station is dusty and covered in cobwebs. Flickering, flashing on and off quickly. The single light bulb in the station flickers, creating an unsettling atmosphere. Shrug, to move your shoulders up and down to show you don't know something or don't care. Chloe shrugs when Sarah asks her about the situation. Clang, a loud metallic sound. The metal gate clangs shut behind them, trapping them in the station. Shiver, to tremble or shake slightly, often because you are cold or afraid. Sarah feels a shiver crawl down her spine as she realizes the danger they are in. Hammered. This doesn't mean someone physically hit something with a hammer. Here it describes the rain hitting the train window with a lot of force, almost like repeated blows. Imagine the sound of heavy rain drumming on a roof. Blurring. When something blurs, it becomes unclear or hazy. In the story, the rain makes it difficult to see the buildings outside the train window. Frustration. This is the feeling of annoyance or irritation that builds up when things don't go as planned. Sarah feels frustrated because her train is late, making her worried about being late for her friend's birthday dinner. Panic. This describes a sudden feeling of fear or anxiety. When the train stops unexpectedly and announces a change in route, Sarah starts to panic because she doesn't understand what's happening. Menacing. This word suggests something that feels threatening or dangerous. The deserted station with its single flickering light has a menacing atmosphere. Deserted. This means empty of people. The station is deserted because no one is supposed to be there. Flickering. This describes a light that keeps going on and off quickly. The single light bulb in the station flickers, creating an unsettling feeling. Looming. When something looms, it approaches in a way that feels threatening. The abandoned station might seem to loom out of the darkness, making Sarah feel uneasy. Screech. This is a harsh, high-pitched sound, like the sound of brakes on a car coming to a sudden stop. The train makes a screeching sound when it stops unexpectedly. Gravelly. This describes a voice that sounds rough and unpleasant, like gravel scraping together. The man in the long coat has a gravelly voice that adds to the unsettling atmosphere. Silhouette. This is the dark outline of a person or object against a lighter background. In the flickering light, the Sarah might see the silhouette of the man in the long coat before she can see his face clearly. Constricting. When something constricts, it becomes smaller or tighter. Fear can make your throat feel constricted, making it difficult to breathe. Desperate. This describes someone who feels hopeless and needs help urgently. Sarah feels desperate to find a way to contact her friend or get back to where she came from. Lifeline. This describes something that gives hope or help when someone is in a difficult situation. Sarah might see her phone as a lifeline if she can get a signal and call for help. Story written by Google Bard AI. Image created by desgo.com AI. To read all the stories in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you.